So here we are with wheelchair basketball. We are underway. Great Britain versus the USA, and a very quick early point for Team GB. This event, of course, held in the Olympic Park. The wheelchair basketball arena has been converted for wheelchair rugby. A great facility it is. Wheelchair basketball ever so popular here in London 2012, and I'm sure wheelchair rugby will be as well. There's the action replay. Seven minutes and 25 seconds remaining. So Great Britain leading the USA 2 points to 1. Just missing that pass there. Just a quick read through of all the names on Team USA. Sumner, McBride, Scaturo, Aoki, Regia, Hogsett, Springer, Grolux, the brothers Andy Conn and Chad Conn, numbers 11 and 12, Helton and Delagrave. Good try there for USA. 3-2 now. 6:41 remaining on the clock. And the roster for Great Britain, number 1 is Shemi. Playing in number 2 is Kogan. Grimes for Team GB is wearing number 3 shirt. Anthony wearing number 4. Number 5 is Hussein. Morrison number 6. Kerr number 7. Pearson number 8. Brown number 9. Barrow number 10. Number 13 is Phipps. And let's not forget that the USA are the favourite for this competition. And this is the very, very first match. Great Britain are leading 3-2. Aaron Phipps of Great Britain wearing number 13 there. He is the star of the team here, the best player we have, and he's in real form. 4-2 for Great Britain. 6:15 on the clock. 4-3 now. Aoki Chuk there, number 5, taking a try for the USA. It's an absolute sellout crowd. I'm joined here, of course, by Duncan Campbell. Good afternoon, Duncan. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Sorry I'm a touch late.
So 5-3, Great Britain leads.
USA scores, gets it within 1. This could be a very, very good game. GB has picked up a new player in the last 2 years named Aaron Phipps, who makes a big, big difference to their team. He now has the ball. For those of you that haven't seen this game before, I'll try throughout the game to give you a little understanding of what the game's all about and the classification system that makes a big difference, and see how we can do and educate you a little bit, but at the same time let you watch the game and enjoy every minute of it.
Quite a young team. The average age for the United States of America is a little more than 31 years of age, but Team GB, average age of just 29.
And getting better all the time.
Duncan, tell us a little bit about the GB star, Aaron Phipps, our best player.
Well, Aaron Phipps is a new player, and he's a 3.5 player, which is that's the highest point you can be in this game. Hang on. The U.S. just caused a turnover, which should even up the game. That's off to Will Guru. And he's through. We now have a tie game. The difference between the two teams in this particular setting is that Aaron Phipps is a high point player, which means that they have to play somewhat of an unbalanced lineup. So they have him as a 3-5. That means they always have to have a 0.5 on the floor who has less ability. But they work that way. And the U.S. team is a very balanced team. Their team is probably 4 players that can carry the ball.
And these wheelchairs, as we saw in wheelchair basketball, they're so versatile, the way you can spin and turn. They seem very, very fixed and balanced on the floor. Yes, there's some spills, but, you know, it's a very expensive piece of kit, is it not?
It is. They're $4,500 a piece, or about 3,000 pounds. As Aaron Phipps puts another one in. The game should be around 40 to 50 points per team in this caliber of rugby. And they should basically score almost every time they get the ball. There's Chuck Aoki. He's one of the more dominant players in the game for the U.S.
A 3.0 sport class.
Yeah.
So a higher point there, high point player.
There's Aaron Phipps with the ball again. Andy Barrow's trying to lead him up the floor. He's triple teamed. And that's what the U.S. might do, is just triple team Aaron Phipps and make the other GB players pull through for him. And there's also a 40-second score clock in this game, which means that you have 40 seconds to actually score or you turn over the ball. And GB just did an interesting move. They were down to 1 second on the score clock, so they took a timeout. But they have a limited number of timeouts per game. They only have 4. So that takes the timeout out of their bank, and they get 15 seconds on the score clock when you take a timeout. So they didn't lose the ball for the score clock violation, but they lost a timeout to save it.
So at 3:28 on the clock, USA 7, GB 7.
That's a great score for GB right now.
Phipps there, the back of Phipps, 29 years of age.
And they've got one of their older players on the floor right now, Ross Morrison, who's been playing for a long time. Very, very good player. And they've taken Aaron Phipps out to give him a bit of a rest. There's Ross Morrison. In this instance, GB's gone to more of a balanced lineup. Because they don't have Aaron Phipps on the floor. Oh, and they've just forced the U.S. to call a timeout. What was happening there is Andy Cohn had the ball, but he was facing the wrong direction, and Ross Morrison can hit him, and if he hits him out of bounds, it's a turnover. So he called a timeout before he got hit out of bounds, so the same thing. They've just lost a timeout. They didn't lose the ball.
So we've seen quite a lot of clashing and pulling. Can you just explain what's allowed and what's not allowed here?
Chair-to-chair contact is totally legal unless it's dangerous. So if you hit from behind, it can be called for a charging foul, or if you hit behind the rear axle of the chair and the individual that gets hit spins, that's a spinning call. So it's a very judgmental call by the refs, but they're usually pretty good at it. You have to hit behind the axle to be, it has to cause a dangerous type of spill.
Right. So USA 7, Great Britain 8 at 3:15 on the clock.
Speed. Was that Will Grew? That was Will Grew that scored that one. He's been on the team for a number of years.
38 years of age, more senior player. The youngest player here is actually from Great Britain, Miles Pearson, who's just 19 years of age.
Oh, and they've just called a penalty on the U.S. What happened was the U.S. had a low pointer trapping Andy Cohn in the corner, and he went out of bounds to get away from it, and the ref actually caught him doing it and called a penalty on it for going out of bounds to gain an advantage.
Andy Cohn, a 2.0 sport class player.
GB's up.
Cheers from the crowd there.
Andy Cohn is an excellent player who's been around for a while and was actually selected as the most valuable player at the Canada Cup, which was recently held in July, which had exactly the same teams in a warm-up event for the Paralympics.
Is this a surprise to you right now, Duncan? We're 2 minutes 37 seconds away from ending the first, and GBR, well, equal now, 9-9. GBR and USA are the favourite team here. So is this a surprise for performance, I should say? Put your teeth in, spit your words out for Great Britain.
It's a little bit of a surprise, but they did the same thing at the Canada Cup. They stayed even with the U.S. for the first half. So we'll see how it goes. The thing with the U.S., as you'll see, is they have a lot of speed, and they have a very balanced lineup, so they can sub a lot, which means they can keep the energy in their players. And in the third and fourth quarter, that can make a big difference. Right now, though, that was close to a turnover, but GB ended up with a goal on that one.
So GB still in the lead. Every time the USA get one, GBR get one back.
It's a game of turnovers. As soon as somebody turns over the ball, the changes happen. This is interesting. The U.S. is double-teaming the inbound.
Seemed to take a while how the whistle went, but the clock didn't seem to start for 3 or 4 seconds, but it's ticking down now with less than 2 minutes to go. It's 10-10 in the first.
(11-10). This will be one of the very, very good games in this tournament, in the games. It's been looked forward to. I was glad when I was asked to color commentate this one.
Well, it's a great atmosphere, capacity crowd in the stadium.
You can see how an individual will hit another individual to let another individual get by. It's very much a team sport. People have to work together to make it work. Inbound to Andy Barrow.
Ross Morrison there trying to desperately
They got it.
Get to the ball. They did get it. Number 9, Steve Brown.
He just tipped himself over. They get going fast enough that sometimes if they don't lean the right way, they can tip themselves over. But once they get the speed up, it's pretty hard to catch them. Now watch this. Puts the ball down, and there he goes.
And that's why they wear elbow pads.
All sorts of paraphernalia. There's not any more injuries in this sport than any other team sport, though, like even able-bodied rugby and wheelchair rugby, because most of the actual contact is chair to chair.
Yeah.
The chairs take a beating.
Yeah.
And the individuals take somewhat of a beating, but it's no more than any other team sport.
So your body lasts a lifetime, but what about these chairs? They're big bucks, but how many seasons would you expect the chair to be used?
At this level of play, I would expect a chair probably only last 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of these guys are sponsored, so the chair manufacturers will give them their chairs and help them with their equipment so that other people will buy their chairs. But they don't last that long because this is a tough sport on the equipment.
So it's a personal chair to the individual. I guess that they're made to measure, as it were?
Exactly. They're made, it's very, very specifically to each individual. You'll also note that on the sidelines, one of the very, very important people on these teams that doesn't get a lot of recognition is the mechanic. the wheelchair mechanic. So he will be responsible for these chairs during the game, and somebody gets a flat, he has to get out there and switch that wheel within a minute and then change the tire so it's ready for the next time they get a flat. Right. Bent axles and things like that are very hard to get out of a chair.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to get them out and change them in 1 minute of time, or they have to pull them off the floor.
Oh, really?
And
That's very
and they
interesting.
keep the chairs in good maintenance off, when the game's not on.
Yeah, sure. Number 1 there for the USA, Sumner, Chance Sumner, 3.0 sport class. He's 35 years of age. There's Brown of Great Britain.
And Joey Delgrave is on the floor. He's a newer player for the U.S. So they've gone a little bit to a less balanced lineup. But you can see the U.S. has a lot of players. They can switch off and on a lot. This is almost a totally different lineup now.
And how many players are you allowed in the wings at any one time during a match?
Four on the floor and 12 on your bench, or 12 total. So 8 on your bench. And you can. It's a co-ed sport, so women can play as well. And there's a couple of teams here that have women on their team. And when you have a woman on your team, you can play with an extra half a point on the floor. Your 4 players have to add up to 8 points based on their classification. And if you have a woman, you can go to 8.5, which sometimes can be an advantage, and it works out very well for the balance between women and men. The classification system is every player out here is graded on their physical abilities by classifiers, a panel of 3 classifiers. So that's basically what functional muscles you have. So you end up with a class between 0.5, which is the lowest physical ability, to 3.5. And what that does is it ensures, because you can only have 8 points on the floor of your 4 players, it ensures that all levels of quadriplegia get to play the game. And it also creates very strategic roles for each player on the floor. So if you have a 0.5 player on the floor, when you have a 3.5 player on the floor, the 0.5 probably won't touch the ball, but will set up the 3.5 player to score. So they'll set picks and screens to allow that player to get up the floor. And it works out really, really well. Makes it for a very, very team-oriented sport and a very strategic sport.
So an interesting dynamic to hear that there. And if we look down the list, the roster list here, United States have 1 0.5 player, number 7, Jason Rieger. GB actually have 2 0.5 players in the names of Kogan and Grimes, wearing number 2 and number 3. So would that indicate that they have a strength in setting up the try?
Yeah, and they need him because of Aaron Phipps. Because they have their 3.5 player, who is a fairly dominant player and has to play a lot of the game. They need 2.5s so that if anybody gets hurt, they have a spare, or in case they get tired. Coogan is an excellent 0.5 player.
Right, because Team USA do not have a 3.5 player, so that makes perfect sense.
Yep, they have a much more balanced lineup. Or a much more, I shouldn't say balanced, I should say a much more mid-level point balance.
Right.
I don't know what's going on right now. The coach for the U.S. is asking questions of the technical official, and I'm not sure what's going on. One thing that's been happening at the Paralympic Games, though, that is absolutely fantastic, is when there is breaks in play, the crowds have been going crazy.
Yes, that's
it's
for sure.
Sold out, and everybody's going nuts, and it's really, really a fun atmosphere to get in. So if you can get down to see the games, make sure you do.
Well, it has been a complete sellout. 100,000 tickets were sold very quickly.
It's been tough to even get tickets even for families and friends. It's been tough to get tickets.
Yeah, well, we've been joking here that the Olympic Games are just a warm-up for the Paralympic Games.
Oh, well, we hope so. This is the 3rd Paralympic Games I've been to. I've also been at Sydney and Beijing, and I have to say that it's been absolutely excellent here. Everything is really, really well done. The venues are great. The crowds are great. Just the atmosphere is fantastic.
And the organisation and the volunteers and the forces that have been here, obviously the military stepping in to do a superb job and have really created a great dynamic between the public and themselves, done themselves a lot of favours, much respected by everybody here in London, the fans, the players, all the workers, and every single venue that I've seen and been to has been absolute capacity.
It has. I've been, because these didn't start till now, I've been able to go to some wheelchair basketball games, and And they have been just fantastic. There's been some great games. The crowd gets a little louder when GB's playing,
But they do support all the nations.
They do. They support everybody.
164 nations here in London 2012, more than ever before. 18 more nations than there were in Beijing in 2008.
Not sure what's going on. There's a little bit of a slow up. This is the first game of the tournament, so there may be a few technical glitches to get it started, but looks like they're ready to play again. 1:28 left in the first quarter, and GB is still up 12-11. It's a fantastic score for GB, and if they can keep up this type of play, they have a shot. At the Canada Cup, which again was the same teams, the U.S. was upset in one game, and Japan beat them, which of course gives everybody a different attitude when they come into these games, and they think they can. Anybody can beat the U.S. now, and I think that's had an effect.
Well, it is a high score for GB, 12 points, and we're still more than a minute away from the end of the first quarter. And your prediction, Duncan, of some 40 to 50 points there. They bang on for, possibly 50 points here at the end of the game.
Should be close, yeah. As long as people don't turn over the ball, they're going to be good. They've got him cornered.
Less than a minute to play now.
Now there's a 40-second clock there. They had to call a timeout. That was great defense by GB. The U.S. was getting close to the 40-second clock, so they had to use a timeout again. A little bit of psychological play there as they wouldn't let Seth get away after he called the timeout. And sometimes you stay on the floor after a timeout, so they're just sitting there making sure that he doesn't move.
Mike Kerr, not a happy man there, screaming in the face of the U.S. 1.5 sport class player, Mike Kerr, number 7 for Great Britain. Very determined player.
There's Andy Barrow on one. You never know if they're going to get to those or not, but he does. Just Seth, once he gets going, there's no stopping him. The U.S. has a couple of really, really fast players. I think this is probably a substitution. Will Grew. Andy Cohen's coming back in the game. Again, the U.S. is getting to be a little bit of an older team in the tournament. A lot of their players have been to 3 and maybe even 4 Paralympics. So now they only have 15 seconds to score because they had to call a timeout. GB's excited now because what they've done, they've just caused a turnover. Sometimes these games can be decided by 2 or 3 turnovers. That's 1. And they're up by 1 with 37 seconds left. That means they can have the ball all the way to the end of this period. And if they score, they're up by 2.
Boris Johnson there in the audience, the Mayor of London, enjoying this game. It is the first game of this event here in London 2012, and would you believe it is USA?
They might actually try to slow up the clock here, which I think is not necessarily the smartest thing to do, because they still have to score. And this is a strategy that a lot of coaches use in that they want to use up the whole clock, but sometimes it doesn't work. So we'll see what happens here. He's going to score. Oh, he does. Okay, good job. Ross Morrison just scores with only 4 seconds left, so that's a fantastic thing for GB.
So GB lead 13 left. First time they've been up by 2 points. GB 13, USA 11. 4.3 seconds left at the end of the first.
Don't foul, just let them. They're going to run out the clock.
And they did run out the clock. That's the end of the first quarter. 13-11.
Look at the crowd. We got a full house. And GB's winning. That's fantastic. It's going to make, no matter what happens in the game, it's going to make for one great game. The other thing that happened in that first quarter is they actually didn't use Aaron Phipps as much as they might have. So they rested him to some degree, which I was at the Canada Cup, and they used him almost all game, every game, and he was tired by the end of the tournament. So this could be really advantageous in that they've done so well without him on the floor.
And how long is the break between quarters, Duncan?
I think it's a minute. It's a minute between quarters and 5 at half. The timeout situation, I'll explain that timeout situation again. Each team has 4 timeouts for the whole game. So we saw them use at least, they both used 1, so they have 3 left. Once you run out of those timeouts, it becomes an issue on you only have 12 seconds to get over half, you only have 40 seconds to score. Those kinds of things can cause turnovers when you don't have those timeouts. You also have 2 bench timeouts that can be called at any time there's a stoppage in play. The only people that can call those timeouts, though, are the coaches.
Right.
The floor timeouts can be called by anybody on the floor.
And the maximum time that you can take in a timeout is how much?
1 minute. You get 1 minute for a timeout. And the maximum amount of time you can take for an injury is 1 minute, and the same for an equipment repair. There haven't been a lot of equipment repairs in this game yet. There's an interesting hairdo for a GB player, and there is a woman on the bench, as you can see.
Number 4 there, David Anthony.
And Grimes is on the bench. Grimes is for GB is I'm just checking to see what point class she is. She's 0.5, so they can play with 8.5 points on the floor when she plays.
Kogan there, a 0.5 player, 29 years of age, number 2 for Great Britain.
And the U.S. has gone to a little more high-low lineup with Chuck Aoki and Chance Sumner on the floor. They're both high pointers. The U.S. scored. They got a penalty goal because they went out of bounds trying to stop them from scoring, and it would have scored otherwise, so they just called that a penalty goal. Oh, Aaron Phipps is back on the floor. Keeps GB up by 2.
So GB leading 14-2. We're into the second quarter. The clock is ticking down to 0 from 8 minutes.
And Chance Sumner. Now you see these guys get away so free, and you think, wow, they're just super fast. But part of that is that the low point players are setting screens for them so they can get away like that.
Oh, severe clash there from number 1, Sumner, Chance Sumner of the USA. A more higher class point play at 3.0.
There's Phipps again. You'll see when Phipps is on the floor, he pretty much dominates what GB does. As should Chuck Aoki for the U.S. There he goes.
Phipps just seems to have phenomenal spatial awareness. I guess all the players do, but is that a trait of real talent, having that level of spatial awareness?
You have to have that, yeah. And it is one of the traits you look for when you're recruiting players. Can they get that or not?
Right.
You know, and a lot of players can't. But the players at this level all have that.
And can it be coached?
I think so, yes. I think you can learn it. But there's an innate ability as well. If you have it innately, it's a lot easier.
Yes.
But you can coach it. Some of these players take 10 years to make it to this level. And they train hard to make it to this level.
Some 10,000 hours, 10 years and 10,000 hours.
That's what they say.
Yep.
And I know a lot of the players. I've recruited a lot of the Canadian players, and it has taken them that long to get there.
Yep.
And you need to make sure they know that before they think they're going to get on in a day.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts, not in any sport. Not these days.
No. Still, the game is staying exactly the same. It's 16-15 for GB, and they have the ball, which means they should end up by 2, and there they go. Yeah. It's a bit of a screen and roll kind of play where Chuck will screen a high pointer so that Chance can get by, and once he gets by, he leaves the screen and he's gone. There's Aaron Phipps with the ball, and the low pointer has set him up to go around. Now he's in a bit of trouble. Oh, and there's a turnover. So that, to me, I think that makes the turnovers 1 apiece.
Kogan digging in, couldn't quite get there. Scatura there, Adam Scatura.
And we got an even game.
So 2 minutes, 1 second into the second quarter. It's all level.
And there's another turnover, though. GB just turned it over, throwing it in. Now the U.S. will kind of hold the ball up a little bit. What GB has done here now is they've gone into what's called a zone defense, so they will just play areas. But the U.S. has beat it quite easily. Here's an equipment call. So Ross Morrison has something wrong with his chair. He probably should have had a foul call there, but there was no foul call.
So USA leading now. They've turned it around, 18-17.
And there's the equipment guys I was telling you about, trying to get a wheel off. He's got the new one on within a minute. They're very important. They are they're very valuable entities on these teams. Oh, timeout. Timeout, and I think substitutions.
Right. And the technical commissioner here for the USA versus GBR is Jonathan Corson from New Zealand.
He's a referee that's been around for a long time, well trained, been involved for probably 10 to 15 years.
Gave that up there. Nice passing by the USA, I must say.
The other thing that you got to think about is all of these guys have arm and hand dysfunction, so when passing is that nice, you got to realize that it's a little harder for them to do it as well.
Right.
They've trained a lot to get to that point.
David
another
Anthony.
Turnover. That's 3 turnovers in a row for GB. They gotta settle it down a little bit.
Clash there from David Anthony with the blue Mohican.
Oh, US is up by 2. Phipps is trapped.
Skaturu marking Phipps intensively there.
So he's got to bounce the ball every 10 seconds too. Got it.
Mike Kerr just keeping on to that ball. Some scrabbling going on there. It's still in the hands of GB. David Anthony.
And Aaron Phipps. They've only got 10 seconds on the 40-second score clock. There they go. Good job, but it was tough, but they did it.
Pull the point back.
The U.S. certainly didn't make it easy to do.
USA lead 19-18. Almost halfway through the second quarter. Some booing there from the crowd. David Anthony there.
Not sure what happened that they were booing, but
I don't think David Anthony was at fault, but something happened. The crowd weren't pleased. The whistle goes and the clock's ticking down again. 20-18, 4 minutes 40 seconds to go.
That's another turnover. They got to watch for over and back here, but there they go. That's 4 turnovers in the last 2 minutes.
Chan Sumner there.
I mean, if I was the GB coach, I might be thinking about either substituting or taking a timeout right about now. And let's see what happens here.
Oh, and that was a big clash from Phipps
And they're
into
calling
Chan
it
Sumner.
no goal. They're calling it no goal because Aaron Phipps fell forward onto the U.S. player, which is a physical advantage. Right here, as soon as he touches him and grabs him.
Yep. Chan Sumner, the highest class player, 3.0 for the US, 35 years of age.
So the U.S. is still up by 3, and now they have the ball. Aaron Phipps might catch him. Yeah, he's got him. And he stole the ball. Oh, that was good. That was good for GB at this point. But then he turned the ball over again.
Chance Sumner very heavy into the tackle there.
I would say that that's a little inexperienced, because at that point he could have called a timeout before he went out of bounds. But when you're a newer player, you don't have the, you're a little bit more jumpy about how to play. And he threw the ball instead of calling a timeout, and he threw it into the U.S. and they turned it over again. Because he has only been involved for a couple years. Here goes Anthony.
Determination on his face there. 19-22. GB down now for the first time by 3 points.
And the U.S. has the ball. You need to put a little defensive pressure on them. They do have a little bit of defensive pressure now. That was very close. They almost got a turnover there. Chance is looking for somebody to give the ball to, and there he goes.
Number 5 there. Chuck
Aoki.
Yeah, the youngest player, 21 years of age on the US team.
And even though he's the youngest player on the team, he's been playing for 3 or 4 years. He started young. And here's Aaron Phipps again. You can hear the GB crowd trying to get him going.
Absolutely behind him, 100%. 2 minutes 53 left on the clock in this, the second quarter.
It should catch him. Now you see number 7 there, he's a low pointer. He just took out number 4, the high pointer from GB, which is an absolutely excellent play. That allowed USA to score. Adam Scarturo is on the scoreboard quite a bit these days, because they're double teaming the high pointers and he's getting away. There's another one.
Long pass there, no problem for Phipps though.
They seem to be back on track offensively. They need to put a little defensive pressure on the U.S. so that they can get another turnover. They need to get a few of the turnovers back.
Aoki there doing very well, having a good game, he is. Sumner, perhaps the biggest man on the US team. Sumner, number 1.
The U.S. is the favorite team, so for GB to be in this particular position is still a fantastic game. That'll be 50. Oh, there's another turnover.
Really is intense right now, less than 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. USA now 4 points clear of GB, 25-21, 26-21 right now. A long pass again for Phipps.
You see at the bottom, the U.S. has stole the ball 7 times. And that's a lot. They need to make up some of those.
Aaron Phipps' accelerative speed really is second to none.
The U.S. is starting to eat a little clock before they score every time they're down there. Slowing up before they go across the goal line. Trying to go into half with a big lead. 5 points actually is quite a big lead in this game.
Mike Kerr on the ball for GB. Phipps on the ball right now.
There's a 40-second clock now. It's GB ball. They still have 15 seconds on the score clock.
Yep, knocked out there. Clearly by the US player.
A little argument about who knocked it out, but the referees make that decision. The US is subbed again. They put Will Grew and Joey Delgrave back in the game, and Seth. They've got their 4 two-point players on the floor right now. Just got a jump ball. Still GB's ball. The jump ball is determined by a possession arrow. So whoever wins the jump ball, the other team gets the possession, and whenever there's a jump ball, is determined by that possession arrow, which switches each time.
Mike Kerr.
Oh, and GB had to use another timeout. They only had 2 seconds on the score clock. They had to use another timeout. They may get 2 shots at scoring before the half is over if they score quickly here. There's 57 seconds on the clock, and there's a 40-second score clock. So if they can score within about 5 seconds, then the U.S. will have to score before the half is over.
Seems to me that the USA have got the mark up, perhaps a level up on defense there, doing a great job.
Yeah, their defense is excellent, and when they turn it up defensively is usually when they turn games around.
Right.
Which is, it seems that's what they've done. That's what they did in that second period. And they also used their bench.
So 27-22 in the second, 48 seconds on the clock and ticking.
That's perfect. So GB should get the ball back before the half is over, which could get them within 1 more point. Well, they let him get going. Now, will he score right away, or will he pull it up? He's going to pull it up. So what they're going to do here is this strategy to try and use up the clock before the half is over. Although they can't use it all unless they use a timeout. I think they have about 10 seconds on the shot clock now. 17 they've got. All right, they usually go at about 10. When there's about 10 seconds left, they usually go towards scoring. This could be a mistake, though. They're going to score here? Oh, yes. All right, so GB has 7 seconds on the clock. They still have a chance to put 1 more up.
So a really intense match here now. And that is the end of the second quarter. USA 28, Great Britain 23.
All right, we have a 5-minute halftime, and the players don't leave the court. They stay on their bench. GB's coach has got to get GB back on track, and hope that they can beat that defensive pressure that the U.S. puts on them constantly. The U.S. they're a great team, especially defensively.
Duncan, you mentioned that Chuck Aoki's been playing at this level for 3 or 4 years. He's just, 21 years of age. Is that to be playing here at the Paralympic Games London 2012, having only played for 3 or 4 years and being so young? Is that quite unusual? Is he quite hot property?
That is quite unusual. He came firing up the ranks, but he was playing in a good program in Arizona. Arizona has a very good team in the U.S., so he learned the game very quickly, and he has some, again, we were talking about innate abilities and learned abilities, and he's got that innate ability to see the floor.
Right.
It's like a hockey player, like Wayne Gretzky, or a soccer player that you could probably name me.
Right.
Maybe Wayne Rooney. Would he be one?
Well, yeah, he would be one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
There we go. Now you can see in these stats, where's the steals? Steals, which I call turnovers, same thing. The U.S. has got 7 of them, and GB's only got 3. And when you look at the score, it's almost exactly the turnovers difference. So that's what happens in these games, is the turnovers create the difference.
5 penalties to GB, 3 penalties to the USA, so a pretty clean game, halfway.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. You know, there haven't been any really dirty things happening. That can happen in these games, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of these players play each other quite regularly throughout the seasons, and many of them know each other well because they'll play on club teams together.
And are these, you mentioned club teams, are they professional players? Is this their job back home?
It's not their job. They don't get paid. Most of these players don't get paid. Some of them can get carded by their country as Paralympic athletes.
Yep.
The same as Olympic carding, but a lot of them don't. And it's not a professional league. There's no professional leagues. Everybody that plays this game basically plays it for the love of the sport.
Yep.
And they put in a lot of time to do that. I know that I think that GB probably their players on their national team get carded, similar to Olympic athletes. And in Canada, that's the same. In the U.S., I don't think it is the same, but I'm not totally sure, but they may get sponsored a little.
Yep.
But again, They don't get a lot of money. Nobody's getting paid big bucks, that's for sure.
Well, it should always be the love of the game and having passion and desire for what you do, self-belief and genuine interest rather than being driven by the money. I think soccer can have a lot to answer when it comes to youngsters just seeing big superstars on television wearing expensive watches and driving very big expensive cars and leading the high society lifestyle. But at the end of the day, it really is about having a desire and passion for and following and pursuing your talents and making the most of your talents. Yeah. And these players are doing just that.
If you don't love the game, you're not going to play it as well as you could.
Right.
And these guys definitely love the game. It's a fantastic game. It's come a long way since its origins, and although the basic tenets of how to score and the dribbling and passing and that kind of thing haven't changed very much, the chair designs have changed tremendously, and the strategies have gotten much more detailed. It's absolutely stunning to watch it grow. And to have, I don't know how many seats this stadium holds, but most of these guys are used to playing in front of, their family and their sister. Most tournaments that you have, you don't get big crowds because it's a very, it's just it's a game that not everybody knows about, especially in North America. We don't get as much television coverage as you guys are getting here. It's fantastic here, but to play in front of this many people is fantastic for these guys.
I think there's around about 10,000 spectators here in the facility.
Absolutely amazing. And the first time I experienced that was in Sydney when we had 8,000 people in the stadium, and it makes such a difference for the players.
Sure.
They work and train for 7 days a week for 3 and 4 years at a time. To have some fans there it's stunning for them.
Raises your game.
Yeah.
And how great to be showing off your talent to the rest of the world, not just 10,000 people, of course, but we're having, 780 live broadcast hours here across 7 IPC channels, 5 English channels, 2 Spanish channels. So there'll be millions and millions of people around the world tuning in to watch this particular match and, of course, all of our sports here in London 2012.
All right, the second half has got underway, and the U.S. has substituted again. Again, they have a 4-2 lineup on the floor right now, 4 two-point players, mid-level players. Ross Morrison just got called for illegal use of the hands. So he grabbed, instead of grabbing the ball, we grabbed an arm. So he's off for a minute. Not the best way to start the third quarter. Although the U.S. had the ball anyway, so they probably would have scored. 99% of the time they do. So you might as well take a shot at the turnover. Now, one of the tactics that can happen is when you have a penalty, you can only enter a certain way onto the floor so they can trap you there.
Springer really determined at the moment, really on the ball all the time for the USA.
There's another turnover. GB hasn't started the second half the way they want to. I know that's a penalty and a turnover. The U.S. will inbound from the corner. And I'm surprised that GB didn't trap him in the corner, but he didn't. And here goes Seth once he gets the speed up.
Oh, that was a heavy clash there into number 2, McBride.
Yeah, Andy Barrow tried to hit him before he threw the ball. And he hit him hard, and he took the brunt of it.
He did hit him hard. Look at that.
It was a good attempt. The equipment guys will come out and flip him back up, and he'll be ready to go.
Andy Barrow, number 10 for GB, 2.0 sport class.
Oh, yeah, they have turned up the defensive pressure. He's going to get over half. That's good. Give us the ball.
Well, USA 30 points, GB 23 in the third quarter.
GB's going to have to make a push somewhere along here. 10 seconds on the score clock. And it's not looking great. Here they go. He's got to get somewhere. He's got nowhere to go. 2-1. They've got to take. Okay, that's their third timeout. So once again, they had to take a timeout to avoid the 40-second call. And now they've used 3 of their 4 timeouts. So the second half hasn't been a great start for GB with a penalty, a turnover, and a timeout. I'm not sure how they scored yet in the third quarter. We got new players on the floor again.
Pearson there for GB with a throw in. Nice catch by Brown for GB. Morrison. Again, a good pass.
Oh, Nick Springer is playing a great game right now. He's out of bounds. So they'll call that, are they going to call that a penalty or a penalty goal? Let's see what happens here. Okay, they did not, sometimes they'll give a penalty goal for that, but what happened was Andy Barrow was close to scoring, but was not going to score in this situation, but Ross Morrison hit Nick and he went out of bounds.
Yeah.
Which they put Nick in the penalty box rather than giving a penalty goal. So now GB is 4-on-3. And most times you should score when you're 4-on-3. The U.S. has really put up the intensity.
So let's see what GB can make of this 4-on-3 then. 5 minutes and 53 seconds remaining in the third.
All right, they're on the board in the second half. Still down by 6, not insurmountable, but they've got to create a few turnovers. He's not following his picks.
Very good catch there by number 6, Morrison, Ross Morrison.
And again, they're trying
Morrison
to get up
still on the ball.
He's gone. He's in.
Nice.
Still down by 6. They need to create a turnover. GB needs to turn up the defensive pressure here. Miles Pearson, he's doing a good job. And once again, Seth is very fast.
Seth McBride, number 2 for the US, 2.0 class player, 29 years of age.
They use this lineup a lot too because Will Grew and Seth McBride play together on a club team. They play for Portland. I think GB just got a penalty for spinning. The rule I told you about a little earlier, where if you get him behind the axle and it causes a dangerous spin, and Ross did that. You could see when he hit him, it was way behind the axle, and Will Grew went flying. No injury, but he went flying. So they've taken another penalty. They called that a penalty goal. They allowed, because Seth was gone when that penalty occurred. So yeah, Seth McBride and Will Grew, they play together all year long on the Portland club team. So they like to use this lineup because they're so familiar with each other.
Good marking by David Anthony at the moment, number 4 for Great Britain.
Same thing happened to Anthony, but he got hit in front of the axle, so they didn't make a call on him. There's Andy Cohen, the most valuable player from the Canada Cup.
So halfway, almost exactly halfway into the third quarter.
Down by 8.
And can GB pull that back? Is it at all realistic?
It's going to be very difficult for them to pull back 8 points.
Yep.
They've got to put some defense up and and score every time they get the ball. They got to quit turning the ball over and start causing turnovers.
You mentioned at the start of the game, every time you get the ball, you should score, and GB seem to let it slip away.
They've had a tough time in this third period.
Yeah, that was a good tackle there.
Yeah, it was checked out. It's still GB's ball, but they didn't score. They've got 25 seconds on that score clock. And they've got a new lineup out here with Anthony Brown, I think it is, number 9. These are newer players.
Brown, number 9 for GB.
Yeah, good player, Steve Brown. And Andy Barrow.
Yep, the whistle went. 26 points for GB. Pull back 1, 7 behind in the third.
Now GB's using their whole bench right now, and you wonder whether the coach has made the decision to get everybody playing time in this game, because the tournament is structured so it's a round-robin tournament, and when the round robin is over, you go into crossovers. So at this point, down by 8, he may have just said, okay, we'll play everybody, get everybody warmed up, and then we win our next 2 games and we go into the crossovers. Equipment. Got a flat tire. Somebody hit his tire and it went flat. So here come the equipment guys. And you might think the referees as well have a lot of experience and have to go through an application process and a selection process to get here and to be selected. Some of them are fantastic refs, and as the sport grows, these become the best refs in the world. So yeah, they had a 3-man panel that selected the referees. So we have the best refs you can possibly have at this tournament from all around the world. All right, let's see if GB can. They need to do things a little quickly too. They seem to be cruising up the floor. Not there. We go. Good job. Need to get a little more intense. Although Anthony's certainly intense.
Chance Sumner having a very good match, number 1 for the USA, the biggest guy on the court, but he doesn't half move around, always marking and marking well.
That's Derek Helton.
Sumner there, marking number 8 intensively. Miles Pearson of Great Britain.
And Anthony again.
Another point for GB. Still 7 down though. 3 minutes 4 seconds on the clock.
And the US has got a new lineup out there as well, but they don't seem to lose much when they change lines. They don't have a set starting line, and when they switch into subs, they don't lose much.
Sumner on the ball. Sumner having a great match. 36-28.
I'm wondering if they're going to put Aaron Phipps back in the game at some point.
I think they should.
Need a little speed.
Yep.
Another turnover. Another turnover. That's 8 now. Too many. It's too many if you're playing the US.
Yes.
They're not going to turn it over that many times.
36-28 in the third, 2 minutes 31 seconds remaining.
GB is going through a transition. Tom O'Connor's been the coach for about 4 years now, and they made a big switch at World Championships in that their team was getting old. They had a few players that had been on the team for a long time and were getting a little old, but were still on the team, and they decided that, okay, it's time to let those guys go and start working on some of our younger players. And this team is kind of the second time that they've been out with Phipps and some of their other new players, Anthony, and giving them lots of playing time. So they're looking to the future, but they're already quite good. This tournament, you know, they could be in the medals. And this is one of their new players. I'm not sure how old Steve is, but he hasn't been playing that long, and he is really quite a good player. He's a smart player. He doesn't turn the ball over very much, and he's got good speed.
Sumner and Delagrave there. Delagrave, number 14 for the US, seemingly really putting the pressure on and pushing back GB there. Where's number 13?
They called him
Elton.
They called him for illegal use of the hand, so he's going for a jump ball, but he got more arm than he got ball. So he ends up with a foul. And they have put Aaron Phipps back on the floor. And he scores immediately. I just think GB needs him a little more than they've used him this game.
And perhaps psychologically as well, that may give them a lift.
Yeah.
And the crowd really need to start making some noise here, Duncan. I think they need to get behind Team GB. They've gone a little bit quiet. They're 8 points down. They really need their support.
There's Chance Sumner again. Inbound for GB. That'll be a give and go. Checked out. And the U.S. has subbed again. I think they've put, who have they put in? I think they put Will and Seth McBride and Will Grew back in again. Or have they? I know they put Will Grew back in. There's Will. They've got Will Grew, Joey Delgrave, Chuck Sumner, and a low pointer out there right now.
There goes Phipps.
And Phipps might get this ball.
Oh, that was a good tackle by Phipps.
Wait, what the ref call? Hang on. That was a good hit. I'm hoping that the ref didn't actually call a penalty on Phipps on that one, because he definitely was. Ooh, he was right on the edge of the axle, but
tough call.
I don't know what the call was yet.
Grolu supported back.
Tom O'Connor wants to know what the call is too. She did make a signal. I just missed it when she did it.
Chance Sumner seems pretty comfortable.
She called Aaron Phipps for a penalty on that one.
Right.
Okay. You know, it was a judgment call. Even when we looked at the replay, we thought, oh, could have been.
Seemed to me that he got there and marked right. The ball was too far clear.
Yeah, I'm not sure he even had to. Not even sure he had to make that hit.
No, that's right.
But again, he's young, he's new, he's inexperienced. So there's a couple of times that he's made a couple of plays that, he maybe didn't have to make. Once he gets the experience, he'll be a little calmer, and sometimes that might not happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she's called him for something like a flagrant. So he stays in the box for 3 minutes. Now, I have to argue with that. I don't think that was a flagrant penalty. There was no intent to injure on that play. That flagrant call is, you would call it a malicious penalty where you're trying to hurt somebody. And I don't think Aaron Phipps had any intent to hurt anybody.
Brown really digging here. Really digging in deep.
He's scoring shorthanded. That's good for them. That's really good for GB.
31-39, 52 seconds remaining. Well, they're holding their own now. 8 points. They're not letting the US get on top of them anymore. Sumner with the ball.
Now we'll see this. Does Aaron Phipps come back in now? .33 seconds left. No, it's 3. Phipps is still in the penalty box. That's a judgment call for the referees, and I think it's got to be pretty major to be a flagrant. Chance Sumner just took a penalty for a spin, so that'll even things up a little bit for this last goal at least. But I don't think, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think that Aaron Phipps was trying to injure him?
I don't think so.
At all.
No, I don't think so.
But it's a judgment call, and that's what the refs are there to do. There's Andy Barrow. Up to Steve Brown. They got 30 seconds on the clock. Let's see what GB does. They have to score, so I can't see them wasting the clock. And they do.
Steve Brown there. 32-40 now in the third. It's really quite a high-scoring match. Again, coming back to your prediction, 40 to 50 points by the end of the game, and both teams really very, very good with their scoring.
Here goes Chance Sumner now. We'll see if they try to kill the clock. I think they probably will, because they're up by 8. So they'll just let the clock run to a certain point. 10 seconds left. They'll score with about 4 seconds left on the clock. There it is. They'll wait. And there he goes. 2 seconds left on the clock. Well done.
And a good call.
Very good call. When you're up, you can do that. I argue with the referees that do it when they're tied or down. Not the referees, the coaches.
So 32-41 at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I'd say, I don't like to say it, but I think the game's a little out of hand. I think that the U.S. is probably going to win it now. GB's going to have to come out with some really, really strong, intense defense to get back. And it's going to be tough to get back 8 points in one quarter.
USA are the favourite team, not just for this match, but to win the gold medal.
They are.
Where did GB actually feature in world standing?
Well, with Aaron Phipps, they held the U.S. to an even game for a full half at the Canada Cup. They could medal. They definitely could be in the top 3. Right now in international wheelchair rugby, there's 4 or 5 teams that can all medal. The U.S. being the top one, probably Australia is the second one, and then there's 3 below that, Canada, Japan, and GB, that are all in the hunt, and any kind of upset could put them in the gold game. Sometimes a team like that, like Japan or Canada or GB, can beat the U.S. every once in a while when they get up and they play really well for a full game. But it's a tough fall. The U.S. is the toughest team here. They have the deepest bench. They're very well coached, and they have a history.
Yeah, absolutely, a big history. So 4 other teams really striving for what would be argued the minor medals, but a great medal. If USA take gold, then Australia, Canada, Japan, and Team GB
are all looking for the silver and the bronze.
All looking for the same thing, yeah.
Not that the U.S. can't be beat. They have had some very, very, very tight games with Japan and with Canada. Canada's beat them once or twice in their history. Japan beat them at the Canada Cup in the round robin. The U.S. again ended up winning the Canada Cup, but they were beaten in the round robin.
So the in-house commentator really getting the crowd going now.
Yeah, they do a great job of that.
So into the fourth quarter, the clock is ticking, 41-32.
And they've taken Aaron Phipps out again. Well, they put Mandeep in. I'm not sure his last name. I know him as Mandeep. I know a lot of the guys his first name basis. Who went and played in the U.S. this year, so he's gained some experience doing that.
David Anthony on the ball, and yes, very well done indeed. Roared it himself for that point.
And Chance Sumner just called an equipment timeout. I think he's got a flat tire. And here come the equipment guys again.
Yes, he says. Good point.
Need to get some intensity into everybody else on the floor as well. Here come the equipment guys. Time's a ticking. It took a while to do that.
David Anthony and Aaron Phipps seem to be perhaps the most determined player. I'm sure they're all giving it 100%, but just the intensity and expressions on their faces. You know, Phipps is what, 29, Anthony David's just 22.
Yeah, they're youngsters. They're youngsters. They've got a really good program going, and they could get a lot better in the long run. And he's using his whole bench right now, so I think he's kind of said, okay, I think we're not going to win this game, but so let's get everybody some playing time.
Larson couldn't quite get there.
I know at the Canada Cup, when Japan beat the U.S., they played one lineup the whole game, which, of course, for the rest of the tournament kind of killed them because they were tired. So they don't want to waste their players in the round robin part of the tournament, especially when they're down by 8. 9 now. The U.S. is going to take their time every score now. Chuck's got the ball, and he's probably just going to run it down, and now they're out of there. And in 15 seconds on the score clock, they'll run down to about 10. There it goes.
Chuck Aoki, 3.0 sport class, just 21 years of age. Great talent.
Mandeep is a 2.5 player, I would say. He and Ross Morrison are both 2.5s.
Good accelerative speed there by number 7 for GB, Mike Kerr. 1.5 sport class.
All the way
Long
down.
pass.
Well, that's a low pointer getting the ball. And Chad Cohn, and basically the GB has to respect that, isn't it? They'll send that low pointer way down to the other end of the floor, and if GB doesn't cover him, they'll just put it up there every time.
Sure. And that really shouldn't happen, should it? It's just clear and out there, and
GB's concentrating on trying to get a turnover, so they're going to put all their guys on the guy with the ball.
no such thing as offside here, is there?
No offsides. There's Anthony. Anthony's had a pretty good game.
He's had a very good game, hasn't he? Number 4 for Great Britain. Very, very good game.
So GB right now has 3 2.5 players and a 0.5 on the floor. So Anthony's a 2.5. I thought he was a 3.
Yeah, 2.5. And it wouldn't surprise me if Anthony changed the colour of his Mohican.
Yeah.
Blue today. Red and white to come, I would have thought, through the rounds.
I doubt if he'll go red, white, and blue, though.
You never know if they go into the final.
Yeah.
That'd be
There might be a
something.
little confusion there.
Yes.
We got red, white, and blue on both teams. Nicely done. Good catch.
So 5 minutes, 44 seconds remaining in the fourth, the final quarter. 10 points of difference. Not anymore.
9-point difference. They've got to create some turnovers, though. It's all right to score every time, but just trading goals isn't going to win this game for you. You're going to have to get some defensive pressure on. And there they go. They got some now.
They just seemed to
Ross
lose
takes a
momentum
foul.
in the third when Aaron Phipps was off for quite a while.
They do. A lot of coaches will coach not to reach in the backcourt. The teams have 12 seconds to get over half, and if they don't do it, they get a turnover. So the coaches will say, "Don't reach in that half. You're just giving them a break." But you can reach all you want once they get over half.
Yeah. Number 6 there, Morrison, Ross Morrison.
He's in the box. Penalties are basically 1 minute in a penalty box, similar to what ice hockey is.
And you can still give indication, encouragement, direction.
Yes,
Yep.
You can talk all you want.
Right.
You just can't leave that box either for a minute or until the other team scores.
I see.
They're gone. Yeah.
Unchallenged, unmarked.
He's an excellent player because Nick is classified as a 2-point player, and he has a big disadvantage in that he has no forearms and no hands.
Nick Springer, yeah,
He
number
can
9
catch,
USA.
He can catch with his stumps. He can't throw very far, but
Right.
defensively he's got full trunk, which a lot of the spinal cord injuries don't have the trunk muscles, so he can turn his chair almost without using his arms.
Right.
He's very quick.
And that's sort of giving the sport class of 2.0, so it's quite a high point class.
Yeah, and he's, it just gives him a little bit of an advantage in chair function while he has a disadvantage with
I
throwing
see.
and catching.
Understand, yeah.
It puts him in a pretty decent class. Some people would argue, but at this point he's a 2, and that works well. And he's gone. Oh, so they might make him use a timeout here. There's a little defense. That was good, but they still. I think the U.S. has only used 2 timeouts in this game, so they still have 2 left.
Aoki, a good player.
He is a good player.
Strong as well. Look at the arms on him there. Young, powerful player.
There really is no one dominant player on the U.S. team. No, they're just all good.
Sums it up really, Duncan.
Yeah, they're all good.
David Anthony just really getting into this. Love his determination.
Still down by 9. 5 minutes left in the game. Got him again.
Nice pass.
McBride. Oh, they might get a turnover here. Oh, yeah, they got one. Oh, they're not getting any breaks either. They're not getting any breaks either. It bounces all over the place and goes off GB and comes a U.S. ball. Almost had their turnover there. Now you see there's the disadvantage for Nick in catching.
Yeah. So he's really got to spot the ball, spot the player, and
get it out.
Tap it on or tap it out, yeah. So number 6 for GB.
Ross is a little bit of an older player, not necessarily the fastest guy on the floor, so he has to sort of maneuver his way up.
Ross Morrison, 2.5 player, 33 years of age.
There's Andy Cohn. He'll probably kill the clock a little bit. This will start to happen quite a bit now as the U.S. is up by so much. They'll just try to kill the clock now.
Yeah, Andy Cohn, number 11 there in the middle. Anthony's away.
I don't know if he'll beat. So he does.
He's showing good speed. Very nice indeed.
That is quick because Seth McBride is one of the fastest guys in the game. There he goes. Let's see if he does the same thing. No, he's going to get it up to Nick. And he got that one, but he got hammered. Jump ball. Oh, okay. Again, they're not getting any breaks. I would say there was a jump ball in there that nobody called, and then the U.S. used another timeout. So now they only have one timeout left.
I think David Anthony right there is making a big name for himself in this game, showing great strength and great precision and great speed as well. We talk about Aaron Phipps, but you know, this youngster David Anthony, he's only 22. I keep saying he's only 22, but he's having a great game.
He's having a good one. He's the future of their program. A lot of times at the Paralympics, that's what they're looking at. What is your future? You know, the U.S. actually is quite one of the older teams, and right now I'm not sure what they have coming up in the ranks for the next few years.
And overall, it is a slightly younger team. It's in 2 years the difference overall for GB. Andy Cohn, the US.
Oh, I think Ross Morrison makes a big difference on that average because he's 33.
Yeah. So 3 minutes, 45 seconds left in the fourth and final quarter.
Oh yeah, they're using the whole bench now. So they've got everybody on the floor. Grimes is in. She's a 0.5 player, so that allows GB to play with 8.5 points on the floor. So Phipps is on the floor, Anthony's on the floor, and I think Ross Morrison's on the floor. That's a pretty high point lineup. So if Grimes can do her job, it could be an interesting plan.
Carly Grimes, number 3, 0.5 player, 24 years of age.
But they've got Brown on the floor. They got Brown, Phipps, and Anthony with Grimes.
Nice pass there by Anthony.
Getting tight on the 12 seconds. Yeah, he'll get that.
Nice for Phipps. 41-49.
They got it down to 8. There's still 3 minutes left. Chances are slim, but I have seen teams blow 7-point leads in the fourth quarter. Mind you, this is 8 and halfway through the fourth quarter.
Other than the third quarter, I think GB have played very, very, very well against the US.
And, you know, they played even up, except for that third quarter.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's another turnover.
Oh, poor pass by number 9 there. That was Steve Brown.
There's a foul on Anthony.
And he's not a happy man.
No, he's not happy with the game in itself.
And number 2, McBride, throwing the ball in.
Derek Helton to get over half. And you notice now that the U.S. is not really pushing that hard right now. They're just, you know, cruising around. Now they'll sit and they'll kill. They got 27 seconds on that score clock. They'll go with, you know, 10 or 15.
And what are the rules on that? You say cruising around. You actually stole the word from my mouth. I was just about to spit that out. What would the ref be looking for at this point in the match?
There's nothing you can do. You have the 40-second shot clock or score clock, so they can waste time within that range. There goes Anthony.
Absolutely phenomenal. He wanted that one. The guy's on fire today.
Trying to cover Will. Another equipment problem.
Very nice move there by Anthony. Very, very nice. Fast and accurate.
He is quick when he gets going.
Nice
USA,
turn and he was away.
USA inbound. Still waiting for Andy Cohn to get his chair fixed. There we go.
That took a while.
Did. Not sure what was going on there, but
I think just about inside a minute.
Yeah, they didn't have to. They didn't have to change him. 2:21 left in the quarter. Left in the game. That was a nice try by Steve Brown. Derek Helton trying to weave his way up the floor.
Well marked by
Off to
Anthony.
Seth.
Phipps
10
couldn't
point
quite get
lead,
there.
2 minutes left.
10 points of difference. Looks like it's all over for GB, but a credible performance. Just let it slip in the third. I'm sure they'll be talking amongst themselves what they can do in the next match, because they really are on form. Just change the dynamic, maybe keep Phipps in the team all the way through the match, but that's a demanding ask, isn't it?
It is a demanding ask, and you know, Anthony has shown that he can play the game as well.
Yep.
Not sure what that call was.
Anthony's been here right the way through, all quarters. Yeah.
And they just called Phipps for something, so GB just turned the ball over. .11 lead. Minute 33 left.
Equal to the biggest lead they have had. USA 53, GB 42, 1:33 left on the clock.
And GB just turned the ball over again. It's not going to help. But at this point, it doesn't really matter.
We'll listen to the crowd now. GB go, GB go.
Yeah, it's definitely a GB crowd. They're fantastic. They support them no matter what the situation is. Derek Helton will kill the clock. .12 lead.
Their biggest lead yet.
GB gave him a run for the first half. And you're right, that third quarter was the problem.
I think they lost about 8 points in the third quarter. Pretty much like for like, if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, oh, and they just turned it over again. Trying to get it into Phipps.
What was the call there, Duncan? The whistle went.
Oh, it was a penalty goal. Anthony tried to swipe the ball out of his lap as he was going over the goal line, so he hit him on the arm, so they just gave him a penalty.
So that's a violation.
Yeah.
That surprises me. That seems a pretty fair thing to do.
It depends on how hard you hit and where you hit.
Right.
You know, Anthony, I think, was out of bounds when he took the swipe.
Right, so it wasn't the swipe, it was more the hit and the positioning.
There's a lot of discussion about the rules on a constant basis, as with any sport, and the penalty goal is one of the things that gets discussed.
Yep.
Because really, you can do something that is a penalty when a guy's going over the line, and they'll call it a penalty goal, but there's no real penalty.
Violation. Yeah.
There's no real ramification for that. So they're thinking about that. Nothing's been changed yet, but you know, over time it will change. A couple of years ago, a lot of individuals were actually taking quite dangerous fouls right on the goal line for penalty goals, and because it was just a penalty goal, they were just doing it. So that's when they implemented the flagrant foul.
Well, 56-43. USA have really upped the game now, and it's very intense play from USA. The biggest lead, 13 points. We're just a little more than 10 seconds from the end.
GB will try and put one more in. Oh, Anthony's out of bounds, though.
Everything to gain, nothing to lose, really, for the USA there.
I think they
having
called
such a clearance.
I think they call Will Grew for pushing him out of bounds. There's a difference in the game from a push or a hit. So you can hit a guy, and if he goes out of bounds, it's his foul. But if you push him out, it's your foul. So it's a referee's judgment whether you're actually pushing away or whether you're just one hit and backing off. There's Anthony. Put one in right at the end of the game. Good way to end it.
So they get one.
4 seconds left. Done deal. The U.S. is going to win its first game in the round robin. GB put up a pretty good fight. Probably learned quite a few things.
12 points the difference. So USA win. We dare say comfortably. Really, they won because of the third quarter, and I was pretty impressed with GB's performance there overall. You're the expert. What do you make of it?
Oh, they had a great game for the first half, and the U.S., of course, is a deep, deep team, and when they put on that defensive pressure in that third quarter, they must have got a good coaching chat at halftime, and they came out with such intense pressure, it kind of got to GB, and the 8-point difference occurred.
Yeah.
And there's not much coming back from that deep a hole.
No, and we saw the hole there on screen a moment ago. The stats were quite clear.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers. It's a game of turnovers. There we go. Everybody always shakes hands at the end of the game. Usually congratulate the refs. And there we go. Steals, 10. 10 for the U.S., 4 for GB. That's the big difference right there. It was a 12-point game. Fouls, GB had a few fouls too. They had 5 more fouls.
Well, a great game. Duncan Campbell, thank you very, very much for joining us. USA versus Great Britain. We look forward to other matches to come.
There's a lot of good games today, so if you get a chance to get out there and see them.
That's for sure. Great atmosphere, great crowd, a great match.
GB fans are thanking the team.
So as the players just thank the crowd for their support, they will leave the field of play and look forward to their next match. There's Aaron Phipps, a great talent. Pearson had a good match, and we look forward to the next.
Yeah, Aaron Phipps is a great new talent, so GB's got a good future to look forward to. And the U.S. is standing tall.
So there is the score, the standings. Preliminary Group A for wheelchair rugby. Do follow the action later on with other competitions to come, other battles to come in this great game.
There'll be a lot of really close games because the competition level is very tight in this tournament. There's only 8 teams. They're the top 8 in the world.